The Majors is composed of 4 regions, and fresh off its strongest season in history, the 4 Mario Andretti Drivers Champions, along with a host of the best drivers from all of those 4 regions, are converging to determine the one true Super Mario. Hello everyone and welcome to GSRC, where we're about to witness not just one, but 2 races to determine who is the best of the best. I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth is Nicholas Schmeg. Behind the scenes doing all of the button pushing is our director Amjad Yamin, and he's using camera sets provided by Dougie Beard, and we are here to join you along with the ride to find out who's going to come out on top here. So, we have a double feature lined up for you all, and it starts with a road course race, and then after that we have an oval race. So let's take a look at our road course track first, Nick, because that's the first race we have coming up, and we're going to be racing the Formula Renault 2.0 at Interlagos.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. With the exception of a 12-year gap in the late 70s and 1980s, Formula One has called Interlagos home to the Brazilian Grand Prix since 1973. The 2.67 mile or 4.3 kilometer circuit has seen countless memorable and emotional races since then. The drivers today will have to face off on the 15-turn course we've come to know and love, and from the fast bends to the tactical corners, and from the long straightaways to the infield S's, I think it's safe to say we are in for a good race today. To get a better perspective of the track, allow me now to send you down to the racing surface for the GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Amjad Yamin in the GSRC Formula Renault 2.0, so let's do a lap around Interlagos. Into the braking for the Senna S, it's going to be very easy for drivers to lock up. The track drops away and requires careful trail braking to be fast. Try to set up a wide entry into the right-hander to give yourself a better launch around the Curva de Sol and eventually onto Reta Oposta. So much of the line around this track requires thinking ahead to determine the optimal path, so the fast guys have likely all done their homework. As we hit the backstretch, this will be a very popular place to pass. The draft, straight line braking, and no switchback means Descida del Lago is really your optimal place to overtake. Watch out for the exit, because the car will like to push wide with the drop in elevation. Switch sides quickly and line up for Ferradura, which is going to be a medium-speed double apexer. It's not as tricky in the high downforce Renault, but will still require precision. From there, turn 8 begins the technical half of the track. The curbs around these hairpins look flat, but don't be tempted to cut them too far. The bottom half of this car is sensitive and can get all kinds of messed up bouncing over the rumble strips. When you hit Pico de Pato, it's another tricky curved braking zone. But the important bit will be setting up a good launch off the turn, since it's going to be flat out for a little bit. You'll see there's no lifting through Mugello, and with Juncal being the most important turn to get right, you don't want to wind up in a too wide situation. Take as wide an entry as you dare coming in here to really open up the corner. And then, as soon as you think it's safe, get on the power and send the car flying up the hill. Anyone remotely close to you is going to get a huge tow and may even be able to draft past you. The switchback on turn 1 can make it possible to defend, so expect the battle to carry on. But as you come to the line, you've now finished a lap around Interlagos.
So that's what one lap around Interlagos is like. This is going to be a timed race, this first event. And we'll get to the race details in just a moment. First off, we'd like to let you guys know who have followed the majors throughout the season that you can purchase merchandise from the Majors store to show your support for the series. Visit www.pacificmajors.com/store. Alright, so we touched on it briefly at the top of the show. The drivers that we have, it includes the 4 Mario Andretti Drivers Champions. Those 4 are Josh Nowak, who was the International Region Champion, Pete Harrod, who was the European Region Champion, Mike Kelly, who was the Atlantic Region Champion, and Blake Reynolds, who was the Pacific Region Champion. However, there is a total of 38 drivers here, so an additional 34 to the 4 I just mentioned, and virtually all of them are racing in support of a charity. And we'll mention throughout the broadcast, you know, as we're keeping an eye on drivers, which charity they're out there supporting, because the 3 drivers who get the best results at the end of the day from the 2 races that you're about to see, they get the best combined results. The top 3 drivers will get not only a free gold season pass upgrade for the upcoming Majors Championship, but their charity will become a title sponsor for one of the 14 races that the series will have in 2019. So definitely a little bit to play for here today, even though it is kind of a little fun charity event that these guys have put together for the end of the season. Now, currently, they are doing a practice session for the road course race. That's coming up first, and we won't have a qualifying. The grid has already been predetermined, and I can tell you right now, the pole sitter for that will be Pete Herod. But let's take a closer look at our race details here, Nick, and see what exactly these 38 drivers are going to be up against.
Yeah, you just said it was really. This is going to be a fun race. A lot of incentive on the line here to race for. We are at Interlagos today with the Formula Renault 2.0 car. Very fun car track combination, in my opinion. Open setups and a 25-minute race today, just to make it a little more difficult. Not much time to get things done today. Qualifying, like you said, is set by the championship points, and of course, no full course cautions for just a 25-minute race today.
And with lap times being clicked off in about 90 seconds, that means you're not looking at a whole lot of laps to get the job done here. Now, you may be wondering, well, okay, we got 38 people signed up. How many people have actually shown up? Well, I'll tell you, we've got a pretty decent-sized field right now. We've still got 10 minutes until the green flag drops, and looks like we've got about over 30 entrants here. And of course, coming up following this, by the way, they will be racing the NASCAR B-class cars, so the Xfinity cars, if you will, and they'll be racing them over at Homestead. So definitely 2 completely different challenges coming up for these drivers. Well, like I said, there's a practice session going on right now, and even though it counts for naught, because as we mentioned, qualifying has been predetermined, it's worth taking a look at some of our top performers here in practice, which drivers will be worth keeping an eye out on. Currently, the fastest driver in practice is Andrei Rachkovic in the number 99 machine. He is racing the 2000 Arrows livery there when they were sponsored by the Orange cell phone company. That was always one of my favourite paint jobs.
I'm looking around. We're seeing a lot of cool old Formula One paint schemes today. A couple current ones as well. A couple of Red Bull schemes in there as well. A lot to look for on the track for all of the Formula One fans that have tuned in today.
As we ride on board, Andre, we talk about him being fastest in practice, but that doesn't necessarily mean he'll be starting pole. As a matter of fact, he's going to start all the way back in 26 on the grid. So it will be interesting watching him try and come through the field, especially considering the fact he's only got 5 minutes to get that done. Andre's charity that he's supporting, by the way, is Die Sternschnappen. And currently on screen here, we have Dean Mole in the number 31 machine. He's one of the international drivers, will be starting 11th on the grid. Charity he's supporting is www.challenge-leaks.org.
There's a lot of drivers here at the top of the board that are starting not really far up in the pack. So a lot of fast guys on the roadside starting in the back that are going to have to make their way up as quickly as possible. It does look like we do have one fast repair if they need it, which I would imagine with over 30 cars in a 25-minute race, if you put that much on the line, I'm sure a lot of guys are going to be needing that today.
Yeah, I'm taking a quick look at that as well here, Nick. The top 5 drivers in practice are Andrei Rachkovic, Timo Toika, Eric Smith, Pete Herod and Steve Driscoll. The only 2 of those who will be starting remotely close to the front Pete Harrod, who's 4th fastest in practice. We mentioned he's going to be starting on pole. And also Timo Toika, who is 2nd fastest in practice. And he will be starting from 4th on the grid. So hopefully for the driver of the 46, he'll be able to get a good start. And I believe, unless I'm mistaken, the order that they line up for this race is the same as the order that they will line up for the NASCAR race following this. And that in itself will be a sprint, just a 40-lap race. Cautions will be on, but if it does go green to the end, 40 laps at Homestead will go by in a hurry.
Yeah, this race and that race are going to be very different. I mean, you can't get too much more different opposite ends of the racing spectrum. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if there's anyone who does very well in both races, or if we have, you know, the road racing crowd and then the oval racing crowd. But I think a lot of these drivers are multi-talented, and they are going to get it done on both sides of the courses today. At least that's what they'd like to do.
And thanks, Jared Morgan, for correcting us in the YouTube chat. I actually got a bit of miscommunication there. It's a NASCAR K&N car they'll be racing at Homestead. Still definitely one of the more fun cars to drive over on the oval side. So definitely something we're looking forward to. You see Travis Wallen is doing quite well in practice. 6th fastest in the number 900 machine. And he's got a pretty good grid position. He'll be starting 7th. The Pacific Majors driver. He is supporting the National MS Society.org. That's a charity riding on board that number 900 car this evening. And we haven't talked much about incidents here. There's no incident limit. However, in a 25-minute sprint race, you really don't want to get involved in the wreck if you want a good finish. And you do get 1 fast repair, but again, that falls into the fact that even if you do have to take a fast repair, that means coming down the pit road, dropping to the back of the field, and you don't have a whole lot of time to do anything. We mentioned that the scoring for this event is going to be based on the best average finish of the 2 races. So quite simply, if you take your position and add them together, and the driver with the lowest score at the end of the 2 races ends up being crowned Super Mario. The easiest way to do that, of course, and eliminate any chance of debate or mathematics, is to go out and win both races. We'll see if anyone's able to pull that off.
That'd be quite a feat if someone could do that. Just 2 totally different cars, 2 totally different tracks. But you know, I wouldn't put it past many of these drivers. A lot of them I've been able to race with before, even, and they are fast. And again, like I said earlier, if you put that much incentive on the line, racing for a charity that you're passionate about, these guys are going to try some moves out there to try to get things done today.
Taking a look at some of the other drivers we have out here. That's currently Daniel Stevens on camera. Not only are we seeing some old Formula 1 throwback paint schemes out there, but IndyCar as well. Lionel Callisto is currently out on track in the number 2 machine. He's running the old Players paint scheme that we used to see back in the 1990s. Lionel Callisto currently 13th fastest in practice. He will be starting 12th, so he'll actually be in a bit of a comfort zone, I would say. And the driver, by the way, starting alongside Pete Herod for the start of this race is Blake Reynolds. But when we look at the practice order, he's up there. He's around 10th fastest, so it'll be interesting to see if Blake can give Pete Herod a challenge for the lead heading into the first turn. We're just a few moments away from finding out, because the checkered flag is out on practice, and it's time to get these cars gridded up. Alright, so here we go. Pete Herod is going to be starting on pole position alongside Blake Reynolds. Starting behind them, Timo Toika will be starting from third. Alongside him, Riley Thompson, Marcus Niskanen and Travis Wallin are on row number 3, ahead of John Kin and Jake Fox in 7th and 8th. Dean Mole will be starting 9th place ahead of Lionel Callisto, rounding out the top 10.
Thomas Peterson in 11th, Vincent Lerbier in 12th, Kurt Crum and Joshua Kanata. Andy Banfield going to round out the top 15. Daniel Stevens, Shane Bowen, Steve Driscoll in the 62 car in 18th. Eric Smith and Lonnie Fitch rounding out the top 20.
Andrei Rechkovic, Joshua Wolf, Paul Slavonic, Wayne Hutchinson, Terry Wellman, Bob Beltrami, Ray Partridge, Eddie Hawkes, Brian McGreevy, Cameron Dance and Nick Kern are going to be rounding out the 31 car field, and almost all of the cars are already gridded up. None of these drivers wanting to wait around for too long. They're all antsy. They want to get this show on the road, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now, because the lights are off and away they go. Pete Herod is off to a nice start. Blake Reynolds, not so much. He's got Timo Toika to his outside as they come down into the center S's. Oh, big trouble back in turn 1. A few cars off in the grass. And now, Rajkovic, our fastest drive in practice, spun around in the middle of the course and a couple of cars collided right into him. That is the downside of starting further back in the field. Pete Herod is far in front of all the carnage, leading this race. Blake Reynolds, though, not letting him run away. He wants to lead. Here he goes. He's going to try and make a move on the outside. Wheel to wheel, Herod holding on to the top spot ahead of Reynolds. Toika, they've all broken away from Travis Wallin, who has got his way up into 4th early on.
Blake Reynolds had to be careful there. He was going to lose that spot to Timo Toika, and he's still side by side with Toika, and Reynolds went for the lead around Herod, and he just couldn't make it happen, and that allowed Toika to get right to his inside, and here he goes now trying to squeeze it down under there. He's got the room. Does he have the pace?
Side by side as entering the back straight. That's not what you want to be doing. You're losing a lot of speed by doing this, and this is really allowing Herod to break away as they come around to complete lap 1. We don't know of how many laps. It's a timed race, 25 minutes long, and right behind these two, Travis Wallin, who has been on the move from the get-go. He's sitting there in 4th. He's thinking about 2nd.
Yeah, that's side by side.
Oh, Reynolds spins! Fortunately, it didn't hit anyone else. I think Thompson had a bit of a bad reaction to it, though. We'll get an above view here. Trying to take the Esteban Ocon line, and just wasn't any grip out there this early on in the race. And what happened to Thompson? Oh, Thompson had a separate spin in the background there. And here's a replay of a start, Nick. A lot of carnage in the first corner.
Yeah, and that's, you know, as expected. That's just kind of the nature of what happens when you put such a small or a short race with all these drivers, and the carnage ensues right in turn 1. You see kind of the domino effect, all these different drivers with different braking points, and you saw someone there, I couldn't tell who that was, go to the inside and get up on the curbing, and then a separate spin later on, that was Rajkovic, I believe, that went sideways there on the track.
Yeah, and unfortunately Rajkovic has retired from the race, and that's definitely got to be frustrating considering he was very fast in practice, probably just wanted to get through this opening sequence of turns okay. It wasn't to be.
Yeah, and on that onboard that we just saw from Rajkovic, he got through the first little incident there, so he was probably relieved to get through the turn 1 lap 1.
That's Peterson! Oh, Peterson hit hard! That was Stevens who ended up getting into him. And I think, was it Joshua Wolf that Peterson collided with that kind of triggered this all off? Yeah, oh, Wolf got a little piece of that, so Wolf badly damaged, Peterson likewise.
Peterson was locking it up in turn 1, and he was all out of sorts coming down there into those downhill S's there that are really, they will really throw your car off if you do not have it under control, and that's just what happened there to him.
So we've seen a lot of chaos in the middle of the field, to be expected considering the fact that we had some fast drivers starting at the back, some slow drivers starting at the front. So who's been the biggest benefactor of it? I would argue it's Steve Driscoll. He started all the way back in 18th, he's up to 6th.
Yeah, we wondered, you and I, Sam, before in the pre-race show, if a lot of these drivers would be able to make their way up through in just the 25-minute race. Well, apparently they're able to with all of these incidents, and look at Steve Driscoll moving up 12 spots like that.
Yeah, picking up another one here. That's Marcus Niskensen, who is running in 5th. Well, was running in 5th. He's now running in 6th. So Lionel Callisto is Driscoll's next target. Callisto also up from 10th on the grid. I know I mentioned in qualifying that he was meant to be starting around 12th, but obviously a couple of drivers who were meant to start ahead of him didn't make a start, apparently.
You know who else is really fast and appreciating these other incidents? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we almost had another one for 12th place. Paul Slavonic going in the back of Brian McGreevy, but they both keep going. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I was going to say, Blake Reynolds already back up to 8th place, and he was involved in that lap 1 incident right from the lead, and he has made his way all the way back up to 8th place, which is a great feat for him, and he is fast, so he apparently doesn't have too much damage on that 21 machine, and he's still got quite a lot of racing left to make his way forward.
So as they come around to complete lap number 4, Pete Herod is in control of the field. Timo Toika, though, has not let him escape. Timo Toika running in support of www.autismspeaks.org. He started 4th, well actually he started 3rd on the grid, now up to 2nd, just half a second back of Pete Herod. Travis Wallen rounding out the provisional podium right now, but still a lot of racing left to go. And the battle for 4th between Lionel Callisto and Steve Driscoll is brewing. Oh, and big trouble in turn 1. Once again, Lonnie Fitch comes off the worst of this. There are a few cars involved in this one, Nick. Lonnie Fitch, the Atlantic driver, racing for michaeljfox.org. Unfortunately, he gets turned around, and I think he backs into the wall here, which didn't do his rear wing any favours.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the biggest damage of that.
And battle for the lead on screen. Toika taking it to Herod. And he gets him. Nicely done through the infield there. I gotta admit, Nick, it's nice seeing these underpowered cars race here at Interlagos. I have a feeling when you put F1 cars here sometimes, they kind of run single file unless you add a little bit of rain to the mix. But boy, we're seeing some great racing out here today. Some of it's gone downhill, but right now, this is definitely good stuff going on for the top spot because Harrod says, no, I want that lead back. Toika late on the brakes into the first corner, though, is just going to be able to hold on to it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very well-designed track for these underpowered cars because you get such a big draft through the first couple of turns and then down through the S's, and then you have the very tactical part of the track. We usually call it the infield here at Interlagos, and look at Herod going back down to the inside now.
As these two scrap it away like this is allowing Travis Wallen to reel them both in. Could have a three-way battle for the lead soon. Toika retains the top spot. Harrod is going to have to just ride behind him in second for now. Now you see in the top left corner of your screen, we're down to 16.5 minutes left to go. Not halfway yet.
Yeah, Travis Whirling really reeling them in. They were racing side by side for the lead, and that really allowed him to close in a lot faster than I expected. I think with these cars, though, I think that's something we're going to be seeing a lot today. Travis Whirling racing for the National MS Society.
Here they come back out onto the front straight. A big toe to help you down the front straight here. These cars hitting about 140, 150 miles an hour before the heavy braking zone into turn 1. Toyka holding on to the lead for now. Once again, a puff of smoke out of his tyres. Toyka really getting on the brakes hard for that first corner. And him and Herod able to break away from Walling a little bit. Little scrap going on back here for 9th place. Riley Thompson started 4th, has faded back a little bit, but still in the top 10. Joshua Kanata has been coming the other way. He started 14th, he's up to 9th. And the battle for 4th place going on here. Steve Driscoll and Lionel Callisto. I think these two have been side by side for position, but Driscoll was ahead of the line last time around, so looks like he's the one on the defensive right now, trying to keep Callisto behind him. And we need to be... Go ahead, Nick.
I was just watching the battle for the lead there. Toyka slid just a little bit, and that allowed Herod to get right back at it, and he's got a big run coming down the front stretch right now, going side by side.
Here he goes to the outside, but Toyka, we've seen how late he's been on the brakes in turn 1, and once again he's able to do that. And Herod is going to have to find a way to counter-attack that, because right now Toyka is able to really brake late into turn 1 and get away with it. He has to go defensive here, and Herod's going to try and pick up his slipstream and try and make something happen on the outside of 4.
They were both locking it up there into turn 1. They really want that position going down here through the next straightaway and into the infield.
A point I wanted to make just a moment ago there, Nick. We need to be keeping an eye on all these drivers in the top 10, because for all we know, these drivers in the top 5, they might have a bad race over in the K&M race that we'll be seeing at Homestead coming up in just a few moments. And maybe it's a driver running in 6th or 7th place at the end of his sin, who ends up coming home in 2nd or 1st over at Homestead, that will end up taking away the overall victory.
Absolutely, and one guy I'd keep your eye on when it comes to that is the guy running in 7th place, where we mentioned him earlier, Blake Reynolds. He's racing today for the Houston SPCA. If any of our viewers right now watch any NASCAR series on iRacing, he is always on the broadcasts and towards the top of the list when it comes to talent on the oval side. So 7th place finish on the road side would be great for Reynolds heading into a track that I think he expects to be much faster at.
I've got to admit, this one fast repairs really worked out well for this race, because it was a bit chaotic at the start, but we still have 28 of our 31 starters running on the lead lap. The only drivers off of a lead lap are Terry Wellman, Thomas Peterson, and Andrei Rapskovic, who retired from the event early on. Lots of good battles going on throughout the field. We've been keeping an eye on the ones up front, but even if you go back further in the pack, there's little scraps going on. Drivers trying to make their way up the order. I think our biggest mover has been Brian McGreevy. He started 29th. He has made it all the way up into 11th. Callisto in trouble.
Looks like that was just a single car spin. Don't think he had any help there. I think he just lost it kind of there in those tough, tricky, short little turns left and right series there that just you can easily lose traction through.
He's able to get back out going again. He's dropped down to 7th place now. After he had been running, I think, as high as 4th at one point. The two leaders, meanwhile, still continue to run about half a second apart. Revered is definitely within striking range of Toyka. He's just not doing anything about it right now. This has got to be a little frustrating for the likes of Brian McGreevy. We were just talking about their Nick, because as I mentioned, he's had a whale of a race, but he's got to do it all again over at Homestead. He's got to start from 29th again.
Yeah, and those were positions set by the championship standings in the major series, and yeah, that's got to be that's a rough way for your season finale event here, Brian McGreevy. One of many drivers who are having to face that. The guy right behind him, Bob Beltrami, he's running 12th right now, it looks like. But he started 26th, only a couple spots ahead of McGreevy. So a lot of guys starting in the rear that are going to have to make their way up quickly, not only at Interlagos, but next race at Homestead, Miami.
And Cameron Dance on screen there, making a pass for position. Cameron Dance also started at the back. He's supporting the Luke Spalding iPads for Oncology Kids at Xmas. And that might be Christmas, but I want to read it how it says on the script. Maybe we ran out of characters. And let's check back in on our leaders again. Still just separated by half a second. Timo Toyka in the 46, Pete Harrod in the 24. Both started up front and both proving, as you mentioned, Nicholas, they got these positions due to doing well in their respective championships throughout the season. That's how they got their high grid positions. And they've been able to show why they're champions by keeping themselves up front. The other two champions, Blake Reynolds, who started second, he's only faded back to 6th. And then Riley Thompson also, but oh, hold on, I think actually we're missing one of them. Riley Thompson started in 4th place, that's right. The other driver who was meant to start from one of the front 2 rows, who was the Atlantic region champion, was Mike Kelly, but he's not actually in this race, so that's how Riley Thompson got to start from 4th position there.
And the leaders almost ran into a little bit of an issue there with traffic. They had to get around Eddie Hawks, who is racing for the Disabled American Veterans today, but he just moments ago went off into the grass and came right back on just in front of the leaders. I don't think that was intentional. I think he was initially trying to get out of the way of Toyka and Herod, but a pretty close call there for Timo Toyka leading this thing.
As you see, we're already entering the closing stages of this event there. In the top left corner of your screen. The top 2, we mentioned how close they've been running all race long. Actually, Pete Herod is dropping back a little bit. Travis Wallen might be thinking about 2nd place before this is said and done.
I'm sure Warling would love to get that 2nd place. I don't think he really, throughout most of this race, has expected himself to finish up there in 2nd place. And I know who would love to get even further up is Steve Driscoll behind them, who started 18th and is up to 4th. If something were to happen between Herod and Warling, maybe steal a podium position, that'd be a great story for him in this first race.
Yeah, I definitely think Driscoll is sitting in a great position right now, considering he started 18th and right now is on track to finish 4th place. And the reason that's huge is this is arguably one of the harder races to make up positions. I mean, my anticipation is we're going to see at least one caution during the oval race, and there you can play strategy. You can't really play strategy in this race. You know, there's no pit stops unless you run into trouble. So you got to pass the cars the hard way, and Driscoll's done that. And talking about passing cars the hard way, here we go, another battle on down towards turn 4.
That's Blake Reynolds, who's been slowly creeping his way up through the field, trying to get around, is that Callisto, I believe? Yes, Lionel Callisto.
So
that's Callisto getting around Reynolds, right?
Yeah, 6th place, that was actually Callisto, as you mentioned, making the move on Reynolds after Callisto was running as high as 4th earlier, but then had an error. Watching them from right behind is Riley Thompson. Ooh, big moment for Blake Reynolds, eh? Keeps on the black stuff, though. Riley Thompson, you may have guessed, with that pink liveried race car, is racing for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. Blake Reynolds really struggling here. Is he having connection issues too? No. Just a bit on my screen, but yeah, that's going to yield in that position to Riley Thompson, so I don't know if he's... I mean, he's got a bit of damage on his car, I think.
He was involved in an earlier accident, so I'm sure he's got a little bit of damage somewhere. But again, he's so strong on the ovals, he's got to be careful he doesn't dig a bigger hole here. He's got to salvage whatever good top 10 position he can to, in this first race if he wants to compete for that top 3 in the average finishers overall.
But I've got to imagine, Nick, as these two continue to go at it, hammer and tons up to the top of a hill here. Riley Thompson holding strong on the inside. Blake Reynolds trying to make the outside work, just remain alongside him, because if he can stay to his outside here, he'll have the inside line at the bottom of the hill. But Riley Thompson still side by side. Boy, these two have been side by side for about 10 corners now. And finally, Riley Thompson comes out on top. But I don't think Reynolds is done with this, ready to give up the ghost yet.
Yeah, he's definitely looking for every position he can. That was a close call there. Almost got on the brakes. A scotch too late there. Almost got into the back of Thompson there, as they... it looks like Thompson will probably have a better run on the front stretch here. But I think Reynolds might be able to chase him down with the slipstream and draw him in closer, as we have just under 3.5 minutes left in this race already.
Yeah, and you saw at the top of your screen there, Troika is really trekking out on Pete Herod now. He's really got his momentum going, has built out up a 2.5 second lead, just took a fastest lap of a race at a 1:30.0. And my concern, all of a sudden, Nick, I wondered, we all knew the start of this race had the potential to be chaotic, and it was, but you're looking at our top 3 drivers right now, all started in the top 3 rows, and they're all going to start there again for the NASCAR race. So, you know, 7th or 8th, it might not be good enough if you're thinking about the overall win, because it's going to be hard to beat Timu, Pete, and Travis at Homestead.
Yeah, it definitely will be. I mean, it's, again, the only... You mentioned it earlier, we're expecting maybe at least one caution in that oval race, but... you got to imagine, I mean, you have to race with no expectation of that. You can't really bank on that too much if you're someone behind him. You got to race and try to pass him on track. And if it gets closer to the end of the race, maybe play some strategy. But yeah, you really got to fight for these positions back here, even if 7th and 8th might not be good enough if passing at Homestead gets too difficult.
So Troika just trekked another lap off a board. He's working his way over towards turn 4 now. Next time across the line, there'll be less than a minute left to go. So we are currently working 2 laps left to go. Definitely a few battles left to settle. Currently your top 10 is Troika, Harrod, Wallin, Driscoll, Niskanen, Callisto, Thompson, Reynolds, Fox, and Kanata. And there you see new fastest lap of a race by Cameron Dance. Dance putting on the show there. He's running 13th place, which is actually quite impressive considering he's starting back in 30th.
Yeah, he may have gained more spots than anyone else today in this entire race, I believe. Looking down quickly through, I believe he has.
Meanwhile, Toyka is about to cross the line. Oh, we got trouble here on the screen. Toyka crossing the line. And that will be the white flag. Final lap here for Timo Toyka. And Herod has run him down a little bit, but 1.5 second lead. I think Toyka's sitting pretty safe.
Yeah, I think everyone in that podium is sitting pretty safe. I don't think they're going to change at all unless something dramatic happened here late in the race. It wouldn't put it past the nature of this race for that to happen. But I hope I didn't just jinx any of them. But yeah, it looks like Timo Toyka, Pete Herod, and Travis Warling is going to be your top 3 from race 1 today.
Best battle could be the battle for ninth. Drake Fox really has Joshua Kanata. Oh, Blake Reynolds in trouble. Final lap, he was running in 8th place. But he had... How much damage did he get? Not a whole lot. He had such a... Yeah. I think he actually got away. He had 10 seconds of clean air behind him. He's still in 8th place.
Wow. Yeah, he's running all over the track now.
But as he struggles, Timo Toyka is celebrating because he's just came out of a final turn. He's still got a second over Herod behind him, who has a second over Warling. And that's going to be the way they cross the line. Timo Toyka is going to take a win here at Interlagos. Part 1 over, and it's time for the intermission for Timo Toyka. Blake Reynolds can't relax yet, though. He's still really struggling with that car. Oh. And there he goes, drifting through the final turn. Somehow held on to that.
Oh my goodness. Blake Reynolds, his whole past lap, has been hopping every single curb he could possibly hop. I'm sure he's glad safety rating is not in effect for this race, because I believe he's accumulated so many off tracks in that lap that would be his limit. Wow.
Close for 9th. Drake Fox just holds on ahead of Joshua Kanata. And 13th, Cameron Dance just got 12th from Shane Boyen, so Shane drops back to 13th. Lonnie Fitch carrying that rear wind damage from where he backed in the wall early on. Could that hurt him here? Could it cost him 17th place? It looks like it will. Vincent Lerbier just edges him out across the line. And one more battle left to settle as they come to the line. No change in position there. And here we go. Last couple of drivers coming across the finish line. So that's going to end round 1 here. It's going to be a few minutes for these drivers to all get set up for the next race, the NASCAR K&N race. So let's go ahead and read out our full race finishing order here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. You guys won't have to go anywhere. You can stay tuned to the stream you're currently watching, and we'll be back for race number 2. So here's our finishing order. Timo Toyka takes the victory ahead of Pete Herod and Travis Warling. Steve Driscoll, very impressive performance from 18th to 4th. Marcus Niskanen probably had one of the calmest races out there today in 5th place. Lionel Callisto finishes in 6th ahead of Riley Thompson, Blake Reynolds, Drake Fox, and Joshua Kanata rounding out the top 10, Nick.
11th place went to Bob Beltrami, who started 26th, and Cameron Dance went all the way from P30 at the start to finishing 12th. A great hard charger award going to him for this race. Shane Bowen, Kurt Crum, Brian McGreevy, Rounding out the top 15, we talked about McGreevy working his way up 14 spots himself. Paul Slavinik and Vincent Lerbier just edging out to Lonnie Fitch there at the finish. Dean Moll, Joshua Wolf in the 48 car, rounding out your top 20.
Then on page 3, we start with Eric Smith in 21st, John Kin 22nd, Andy Banfield in 23rd, and Nick Kunn in 24th. All those drivers were on the lead lap. One lap down was Daniel Stevens. And then you get to drivers who ran into trouble. Wayne Hutchinson all the way back down there in 26th place, as well as Eddie Hawks, Ray Partridge, so not a good day for the Bird drivers. Terry Wellman back there in 29th place ahead of Thomas Peterson. And then, of course, very unfortunate for Andrei Ratchkovic, who was fastest in practice, but last in the race. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Once again, stay tuned here. This is the place you need to be for round number 2 coming up next, where we will find out who is Super Mario. Alright, round 1, part 1, act 1, if you will, is in the books. We just witnessed 25 minutes of racing action over at the Interlagos circuit. Now we're at somewhere completely different, Nick.
Yeah, Homestead Miami Speedway. This, you know, it's a little different than Interlagos. There's a few less turns. For one, every year in NASCAR, all 3 major championship series conclude right here at the Homestead Miami Speedway for the season finale. It isn't quite your typical mile-and-a-half 4-turn oval like you're used to either. There is no dogleg or tri-oval on the front or back stretch, but instead both pairs of turns create a perfect 180. That's not to mention the progressive banking in the turns from 18 to 20 degrees, creating multiple different racing grooves on the circuit. To get a better look at this palm tree adorned venue, let's send you down to the track for the GSRC lap guide.
Hello everyone and welcome to Global Sim Racing Channel. My name is Brian Yazek and I'll be taking you for a lap or two around the Homestead Miami Speedway. The reason I'm starting on pit road is because Homestead has a very interesting pit exit and pit entrance procedure, and I'm going to show you how each side of it works. So, without further ado, here we go. Minding the wheel spin coming out of the pits, up into second gear, coming around through the flat part, the access road. There's absolutely no banking on this part of the track. You really are holding, waiting, and waiting, and waiting. As soon as you see that grass start to clear out right there, you can go full onto the loud pedal, back down into fourth gear, and onto the back stretch. Like I said, I'm going to show you a qualifying line and a end of the run line when the tires are at their absolute worst. So without further, coming out of turn 4, underneath the start finish line for your qualifying lap, your marker right here as you're looking for that caution light, off into the gas, ease it into the corner, back into the throttle. You're not full throttle yet, maybe half, 3/4, waiting, going, a little bit loose out of the corners. Watch out for that divot there out of turn 2. Entering turn 3, you're looking for that white line right there as your marker. And then looking for the bottom, waiting. The car is going to get very squirrely, and you're going to come out of turn 4, let it run right next to the wall, and that's your qualifying lap. Now, at the end of the run, you're going to watch a lot of people take this very high arcing corner into turn 1, looking at that seam right there at the track. You're not full throttle yet, still waiting. Now you're full throttle. And watch, minding that wall out of turn 2 and that bump out of turn 2. Entering turn 3, right where that safer barrier starts is where you're going to start letting off. Let the car find the bottom. It's still going to be extremely loose. This way, you're just going to let it drift up to the wall, and then out of turn 4, watching that wall again. And there we are. Coming out of the backstretch right now, looking for your mark. Here's where it's going to get tricky because you've got to slow down from 190 miles an hour down into third gear, running on this access road, trying to find grip. The car doesn't want to grip. The tires are hot, slick. You're coming through here. The grass ends. You can kind of get a little more aggressive. Down into second gear and onto pit road. And that completes your track guide at Homestead Miami Speedway.
Now, of course, green flag pit stops should not be a concern for these drivers who are just racing the NASCAR K&N cars here today at Homestead. However, they may have to come down pits under a yellow flag if we get one. Looks like we got about 32 cars here. And Nick, you and I have been checking out the field here. Some very interesting paint schemes out here. Once again, Lionel Callisto makes a highlight reel. He's got an old Rusty Wallace paint scheme on his number 2 machine.
Yeah, the last race we had a lot of old F1 and IndyCar paint schemes. We've got some. Now we're headed more towards the NASCAR side of things for all of the oval racing series lovers for this one as well.
I can't remember what NASCAR driver raced with Paul Slavonic's paint scheme, but it definitely stands out.
I don't think it's exact, but it was Kyle Busch that a couple years ago I remember was the driver of that paint scheme.
Ah, okay. Is this the car that, as it goes by, it goes meow? Is that the right car?
Well, we will find out. if he has a very talkative cat on the hood today, or if he'll be sitting more towards the back. We'll find out.
Alright, so on the serious note, who's fast in practice here? Obviously, starting grid will be very similar to the Renault race we just saw. Thomas Peterson is the fastest driver in practice right now at 32.327. He'll be starting just outside of the top 10, supporting UNICEF is the charity riding on that number 9 car. Peterson, Callisto, Reynolds, Wallin and Thompson are fastest 5 drivers in practice. Let's take a look at our track conditions here. We had nice overcast conditions over in Interlagos. Tyre wear wasn't much of a concern. Here, once again, Nick, fairly nice conditions, although that wind, that would be troubling me a little bit.
Yeah, wind at Homestead, Miami, it always seems to come back for the real world events, and nothing different here in iRacing. About 10 miles an hour, they're going to be feeling that out of the southeast now. Yeah, and the track temperature at 94, not too bad. Pretty much what you'd expect on a hot, sunny day here in South Florida.
Okay, we're losing screen for just a couple moments here. We've still got a few minutes left to practice, so this isn't unexpected, to be honest. We should get picture back within plenty of time for the race start. Still got a full pace lap around here at the Homestead Miami Speedway to go as well. So again, your top 10 finishers from the Renault race were Timo Toika, Pete Herod, Travis Wallin, Steve Driscoll, and Marcus Niskanen. They rounded out your top 5, and then we had Lionel Callisto, Riley Thompson, Blake Reynolds, Jake Fox, and Joshua Kanata. Now, I've got to be honest there, Nick, I think our overall winner will be one of those 10 drivers. It would take a lot of good fortune for a driver who finished outside the top 10 to bank on everyone who finished inside the top 10 at Interlagos having a horrid race here.
Yeah, definitely. If these practice times say anything, it would right now be a very good situation for Lionel Callisto. He finished 6th at Interlagos, and right now he has the 2nd fastest lap in practice. He racing for Home for Our Troops today, and he is starting 12th, I believe, on the grid.
Nice throwback Budweiser paint scheme on this car. Timo Toika, who obviously has a reason to be optimistic for this race. Well, he's not a slouch in practice here either. Currently sitting in 7th position in his pit stall right now. Yeah, so we gained a driver here. I'm not sure which driver it is, but we only had 31 drivers show up at Interlagos. We have 32 here for the race at Homestead. Nice to see even the drivers whose races didn't go the plan here at Interlagos. They're still along for the ride, trying to support their charity here for this charity event. One that comes to mind, the 99 of Andrei Rutschkovic. We expected big things from him at Brazil. Unfortunately, his race ended almost before it had even started. But he has shown up here at Homestead and is going to try and get I'm sure he'll be racing for the W and give the supporters of his number 99 machine something to cheer about. Andre, of course, racing with the Die Sternschnuppen charity on the side of his machine. All right, practice is over. Let's go ahead and read out the grid. Pete Herod will be starting once again from pole with Blake Reynolds alongside him. Timo Toika starts 3rd with Riley Thompson to his outside. Marcus Niskanen will be starting in 5th place, with Travis Wallin starting 6th. John Kinn and Jake Fox in 7th and 8th, ahead of Dean Mole and Lionel Kalisto.
And then in row number 6, it'll be Thomas Peterson, Vincent Lerbier in the 027, and then Kurt Crum, Joshua Kanata, and Andy Banfield rounding out the top 15. 16th goes to Daniel Stevens. Shane Bowen in the 61 car is going to be starting 17th, and outside of him is going to be Steve Driscoll. He fought his way up to the field at Interlagos from 18th to 4th. Will we see another hard charge from Driscoll in race 2? We'll find out. Eric Smith, Lonnie Fitch rounding out your top 20.
Then starting in 21st place will be Andrei Rachkovic. Joshua Wolf will be on his outside. Paul Slavonic will be starting back in 23rd, with Wayne Hutchinson in 24th. Terry Wellman starting 25th, with Bob Beltrami to his outside. Ray Partridge and Eddie Hawkes are on an all-bird row number 14. Brian McGreevy will be starting from 29th, ahead of Cameron Dance, and Jared Morgan and Nick Kern will round out our 32-car field. Field making their way around the 1 pace lap here. I think it's Jared Morgan was the driver who wasn't at Interlagos who's joining us here for this event, so he'll be starting towards the back, but we wish him the best of luck. We're about to go racing for 40 laps here. If it goes green to the end, it could be over within 20 minutes, but with a 32 car field, various levels of experience and talent in these oval cars, we'll see who fades back, who comes forward, and how clean is this race going to be. For those about to race, we salute you, because here we go, the field charging down into turn number 1, with Pete Herod on the inside leading Blake Reynolds up high.
And it looks like the top 5 or 6 is going to get single file real quickly, which I was honestly a little surprised that I thought these lesser powered.
Oh, one car flipping
cars
already! A big crash at the back of the field. Rachkovic once again out on lap number 1.
Wow.
Slavonic is in it. Bob Beltrami, and the caution does fly.
What bad luck for Rachkovic in this series today.
Boy, I mean, I don't even think they were fully up to speed yet, Nick,
No.
but it shows you just how fast they're going already down the back straight.
Yeah, they were 3 wide too. It looked like, and then the 528 car of Paul Slavonic. We were talking about his paint scheme earlier. I don't think that cat is saying meow right now. He might be saying ow, but I'm not sure about meow right now.
Well, the good news, again, is they do get 1 free repair. Now, I think a lot of drivers opted not to take that when they ran into trouble at Interlagos, because they knew, you know, the race stayed green, they're going to lose time anyway. Nice thing about having cautions in this race is you can take your free repair, and as long as you can stay on the lead lap, you're still in contention. Even if you go a lap down, you might be able to get a lap back later on.
Yeah, those drivers, a couple of them were able to limp to pit road. A couple of them had to take tows, and that will hurt them pretty badly if they had to take the tow, because that will cost them usually about 1 to 2.5 minutes, probably about 2 minutes here at this track, to tow their cars back to pit lane and then get the fast repair, which is going to be the big hurt for them out of that incident.
Obviously, none of the drivers who were not involved in the incident opting to come into the pits because they really didn't get a chance to get their tyres even up to temperature. I don't think fuel will be a concern for this race. It's open setup, so they're all going to be able to load in as much fuel as they need to get to the end. So Herod leading, Reynolds, Toyka, Thompson and Wallin, your top 5. Had a couple big movers early on. Lionel Kalisto started 10th, he's already up to 7th. What about Brian McGreevy? able to navigate his way through that big wreck. Started 29th, he's up to 23rd. A nice thing about a caution coming out on the first lap is no one was a lap down, so it's going to be a quickie caution. That's already off on the pace car.
And we talked about in the last race, Steve Driscoll going from 18th to 4th. He went from 18th to 15th in that half a lap, so he already gained 3 spots. Ran probably less than a mile.
Double file restarts, of course. Once again, Herod going downstairs. It worked at the start of a race, so why try anything different while the tyres are still fresh? There's one pity about having a bit of a sprint oval race, Nick. They're all exciting and all that, but you don't really have time to get an outside groove to come in, you know? You just got to use a groove that works. It's not going to really be a whole lot of time to lay down rubber.
And Homestead, of all tracks, is such a track famous for its outside groove in the NASCAR world as well.
And there you can see Blake Reynolds fully aware that he needs to have Herod right in his window there. To know when he's going to go. Herod goes early. Reynolds gets semi-decent restart, but Herod is going to have a track all to himself by the time they get to turn 1.
Not a great start for Reynolds.
Yeah, Toyka thinking about second.
Reynolds was so concerned with pinning down Herod there at the start that he didn't.
Again! Almost identical. Ratchkovic gets turned, coming out of turn 2, and goes up on his side, and another 4 cars get involved.
Wow.
What is going on? It's 3 wide. The spotters just not doing their job there, I suppose.
That is eerily similar to the last accident. Exactly how it happened with the 3 wide, and the middle car clipping the one on the inside.
Almost reminds me of when the BAR teammates over in Formula 1, they had that dare about, hey, I bet we can take Eau Rouge flat out in qualifying, and both of them worked out the hard way that they couldn't. You think you're watching the same wreck twice, but no, you're watching 2 completely different wrecks that have a very similar result.
And a couple of those drivers involved already used their first fast repair, I believe, as well, so that was probably going to be the end of the race for a couple of drivers.
Well, the good news is, even though they got tore up a bit, I don't think we saw the severity of impact that we did during the first incident. The first incident was much uglier. So hopefully, even though we see a few cars in the pits here with damage, getting it repaired, and a couple of them still had 3 repairs available, you see their fenders popping back into place, they'll have time while the leaders are running under this yellow to get to get their repairs done the hard way. Now, this is good news for Ray Partridge. He'll be able to get the lucky dog. And the first day of December, my true love gave to me, Partridge, a lap back. I could not make that work. You could see where I was going with that. Ray Partridge from the Pacific region, racing for Sarge's Place. It's a charity he'll be supporting. He'll need another one of these cautions to get back on the lead lap.
One strategy that sometimes appears in oval racing is dropping to the rear with pit stops if the carnage gets a little too heavy. Well, I think it's just about the opposite here. I think up front is the cleanest place to be right now. I think these guys up front, Herod and Reynolds and Toyka, seem to be racing a lot more civilized so far than the second half of the pack.
Well, there's not a whole lot going on under this caution. Since this is a charity race, it gives us a good opportunity to go through the field, actually. Give a shout out to each of these drivers' charities. Pete Herod running in first position. The Christie charity is riding on the side of the number 21 machine. Blake Reynolds running there in second place with the Houston SPCA being his supported charity. And then Timo Toika running back there in third position with autismspeaks.org being his charity that is being supported today. Riley Thompson, fourth position. The Breast Cancer Research Foundation was running the pink car over in the Formula Renault race. It's got a black and white paint scheme here. And Travis Warlin rounding out the top 5. He is racing in support of a National MS Society.
Great event that the Major Series has been able to put on here today. A lot of great charities and great guys working right now to use iRacing as a tool to make things a little bit better than the world. And it's pretty awesome to see the Majors Series, after a great season, as always, come together like this to... I mean, what a proper send-off for that series this year.
I mean... Let's be honest, this league came about from when it was Pacific Majors a couple of years ago. I remember we had one race here on the GSRC where they did a full-length 367-lap, 500-mile Southern 500 race at Darlington, and we had 16 cars show up. Now, I don't want to tell you how difficult that was to cover a 16-car race for 500 miles at Darlington from the broadcast booth, but it wasn't fun. And it is definitely nice to see that, you know, this league has made a couple of changes and it has grown into definitely, you know, one of the best events to watch here on iRacing. And let's see if we can get a green flag lap in this time around, as once again Pete Harrod leads them away. Blake Reynolds trees outside. Once again, not a great restart by Reynolds, but he has second to himself this time heading into turn 1.
We had some drivers further back, even Steve Driscoll there. He made it 3 wide before the start-finish line. So we'll see here if they can make it down the backstretch for the first time today. I think they can.
Yeah, Ratchkovich is still on 4 wheels. All right, so here we go. 1 lap, 1 green flag lap in the books. The core of this race done, and Blake Reynolds is up high trying to take a lead from Pete Harrod. You mentioned it, Nick. This is someone we got to keep our eye out on here.
Yeah, he's definitely knows how to get done on the oval. The K&N, the national car, not as much as the caution again comes out.
Oh, and it was Wolf who was running around at the back of a pack. And once again, boy, just drivers not realising that they're not clear coming off of turn 2. Is that a blind spot for an animated spotter or something? I mean, I can't work out what's going on here. It's always bright orange cars we're seeing involved as well. You'd think they'd be easy to see.
We almost had an incident earlier in the field there. It was Jake Fox got into the wall as well, so almost it was a very similar incident. Yeah, the fellow K9 there.
All right, we have some cars coming into the pits. This is surprising to me because we haven't had really more than a couple of laps of green flag running, and these drivers want new tires already. This includes Harrod, includes Reynolds, and it's going to move Travis Warlin up to the front, ahead of Thomas Peterson. Steve Driscoll now running third. We mentioned it, Nick. He had to pass the hard way over in Interlagos. He's got up front a bit easier this time.
Yeah, now he's just got to hope. I mean, I can't imagine there's too much of a tire advantage. But maybe if we have a green flag run here, we'll see the tires of these leaders fall off a little earlier. That's the only thing maybe I could think of that would work against their favor right now. But yeah, track position great right now for those drivers like Steve Driscoll up here.
And the driver, I don't think we've mentioned a whole lot during either broadcast. Now running in 4th place, it's John Kinn in the number 6 machine. John Kinn riding from the international region with tinnitus.org.uk, his charity of choice for this event.
Yeah, John King finished 22nd in the Formula Renault race at Interlagos.
Yeah, so he might not be able to pull off the overall win here, but there's still a race win, and everyone loves a race win. I guess that's a nice thing with this, you know, not necessarily being a championship event, Nick, for any of those drivers who finished 11th on back, I would say, in the Formula Renault race. They know that there's really only one thing they need to race for here, and that's the checkered flag.
Yeah, and there's never a race car driver you'll come across that doesn't want to get the win, even if there's no championship on the line here. There's still a lot of incentive on the line here today for these drivers.
Good news about this caution, it puts all of our cars still in the race on the lead lap because Ray Partridge got the wave around. Ratchkovic, after being involved in a couple of early yellows, has called it a day. It's very unfortunate for Ratchkovic, considering he was very fast over in the Formula Renault in practice. So I was hoping he'd be able to get at least one decent racing. Alright, so Warlin elects to take the low side for the next restart. Peterson will be up high. Then we've got Driscoll and Kin, row 2. Kanata and Moll, row 3. Fox and Crum, row 4. And Dance and Hutchinson rounding up the top 10. Already approaching the halfway point of this one, Nick.
Yeah, it's a 40-lap race. I mean, that's pretty short. And the big thing here is if we stay green, I'm wondering. I mean, a lot of those guys, Reynolds, Toyka, those guys that were running towards the front, they are back. I mean, outside of the top 20.
Now, it would be nice to see iRacing implement a feature where caution laps don't count. I wonder if that's something we'll see come in the future. Pace car is off. Here we go again. Travis Warlin, nice restart. That's actually a teammate of his running behind him, Steve Driscoll. You see the similar paint scheme, and it looks like it's going to be teammates in 1 and 2 because Driscoll is going by Peterson.
Seeing a lot more drivers head up to that top side, try to find a little bit of momentum coming out of turn 2 onto the backstretch. A lot less single file this time for the guys up front.
Yeah, seeing lots of 3-wide scenarios throughout the field this time, but this time they all worked coming out of turn 2. But boy, 4-wide might not work out of turn 4 because Blake Reynolds was pushing up high and almost got into Hutchinson. Fortunately, he kept off of it.
Yeah, quite a stack up back there. Quite a domino effect. I don't think it's over either. There's still 3-wide, almost 4-wide coming off of turn 2 now. Oh, and there they go.
And into the grass. That is Thompson. They're not going to bring out a caution. Yes, it is, because Herbert has spun out on the Herbier has spun out on the racetrack. Fitch has got damage in it too. Eddie Hawkes is spinning. Eric Smith has front end damage.
That was pretty big. I think a lot of those guys, if you were behind that accident, I don't think anyone got through 100% cleanly.
Yeah, we saw Thompson spinning off down in the grass, and I thought, oh, we're going to get away okay, but it was the other drivers involved in the incident who weren't able to get themselves sorted out by turn 3 that led to this being a multi-car deal. See how Partridge gets through here. If he gets through here. Oh, fell out of a pear tree. Some drivers coming into the pits. More of our leaders staying out this time. Warlin, Peterson, Driscoll, Dance, Kanata, your top 5. Jonkin and Crum coming into the pit, so definitely look like new tyres were showing to have an advantage, but is it worth having to deal with all the chaos we've seen in the middle of the field? Some drivers say yes, other drivers say no. We'll find out who comes out on top in just a few moments here on GSRC. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back for the next restart. Pace car has been the leader for most of the laps here today at Homestead. We got two different stories going on throughout the field though, with all of these cautions going on. A race of strategy up front where some drivers opt in for track position on slightly older tyres, whereas the drivers in the middle of the field have gave up a bit of track position, but they have newer tyres, and then the drivers at the very back of the field starting to run into a bit of attrition as some of those drivers have been caught up in incidents and have used their free repair already, but with the yellow fever that we've seen so far, have subsequently been involved in a second incident, and now we're starting to see some cars retire from the race as a result. Warlin, though, he's in control of the field. Things looking good for him so far, as well as his teammate Driscoll, who moves up into second, and Dance moving down low. He's looking for third under Peterson.
Yeah, that was quite the start by Cameron Dance there, too. He went out to the outside, faked him out, went back to the inside, and it looks like he might be able to get a position here over Peterson.
Yeah, definitely not a good restart by Peterson. So, teammates running first and second. Warlin and Driscoll. Dance moves up into third ahead of Peterson. Battle for 5th place. Mole in front of Kanata. Here the field fans out into turns 1 and 2 again. We go down the back straight. We've yet to complete 2 consecutive green flag laps. I hope I'm not jinxing it here.
Yeah, you saw that lap. I saw Blake Reynolds peeking a little bit to the inside of there to try to make it 3 wide, and the 68.
McGreevy saves it in the grass and will stay green.
Reynolds got away with one there. He's been real aggressive trying to fight his way back up through the field, and he almost is borderline washing up into Thomas Peterson now. Going to make it 3 wide on this lap as well.
You've got to try and make most of these new tyres, but at the same rate, it's got to keep his fenders clean. This is a track where you want your aerodynamics helping you out. Getting very close to Dean Mole there on the exit of a turn.
Yeah, really washed up and right back down to the bottom he goes, which is not the preferred line going into any turn on any oval, I don't think, but he's going to try to make it stick there and make it work, and I think he might be able to get to the high side and clear enough to get the run onto the backstretch. He's going to clear him.
Yeah, very nice power move there by Blake Reynolds. So that has moved him up into 4th place. That orange car you actually see there in front of him is a lap down. That's Kurt Crum in the number 7 machine. He's racing in a lucky dog position, hoping for a quick caution so he'll get a wave around. But if he doesn't get the caution, he'll try and do it the hard way, because he just passed the Cameron Dancer, 3rd place driver for position there.
Yeah, and that's going to allow Reynolds to get right back to the bumper of Cameron Dance, who I don't think he expected to look up in his mirror and see Reynolds, but there he is, almost trying to squeeze it to the outside, almost into the wall, and he is going to make it side by side on the front stretch now.
So Blake Reynolds using those newer tyres, being very aggressive with them, but it has got him up to 3rd place. He's got the lap car ahead of him, and then the 2 teammates of Warlin and Driscoll leading the pack around. And I don't think it's too early to start talking about points here. Travis Warlin, our overall leader, he finished 3rd place in the Formula Renault event. So he would be the overall winner at this rate. In fact, his closest challenger would be his teammate riding back in 2nd. Steve Driscoll finished 4th in Formula Renault. So these 2 teammates, it looks like, might be able to pull off a 1-2 here. Blake Reynolds, though, trying to get 2nd in this race, but I doubt that'll get him 2nd overall, and he might not be able to hold on to it. Boy, and he is able to hold on to it. Blake Reynolds really knows where the grip is out here.
Yeah, he's making a lot of those power moves around into the turns. Very Logano-esque of the real world racing here. We saw a close call there behind him, though.
Yeah, Driscoll is not going to be able to hold on to 2nd in the overall points if he gets passed by too many cars. And here comes Dance, here comes Toyka, here comes Peterson. Dance gets by, but Dance overdrives turn 1, and Driscoll is going to say, thank you, I'll take my 3rd place back. Toyka, remember, he won over in Formula Renault. If he can break into the top 2 or top 3, he might be able to steal that overall win from Travis Warlin.
He's on the same tire strategy as Blake Reynolds, so he's got the tires for that car. Just hope he didn't burn them up running in this traffic, unlike Blake Reynolds, who just was able to break away. Man, real close calls coming there out of 2.
And here goes Toika by dance. Or will he? Very close on the exit. Toika washes up. Toika needs to complete this pass if he wants a chance of the overall win. But now, oh boy, they're making contact into the grass. Hard hit for Driscoll. Spins back out onto the apron. We stay green if he can keep it down there. And he does. Oh, and the yellow flies. I'll get a replay of this one. Oh, things just got crowded up there. So what do you do for tyres here, Nick?
Oh, you've got to come in, I think. I think if you're Travis Warling, you have to come in. You have Blake Reynolds behind you. You have to force him to get on the same set of tires as you, because right now Warling does not at all have an advantage. You just allowed Reynolds to catch up to you. Behind him, though, if you're using your faster pair and you want to get up there, maybe Teemu Toika, a driver who might not be able to get up there and challenge people like Reynolds and Warling for the lead, they might just want to take 2 tires in the pits. Maybe people further back will stay out, but you might want to take 2 tires here, minimize your pit stop time, and try to gain some track position, because we're only going to have a few laps left of racing here.
Warling stays out just for that reason. I think you said that we only have a few laps of racing left. Reynolds is coming in, Toika is coming in, but this does not like the good decision. This does not look like a good decision. Too many cars are staying out. They're not going to be able to get all those positions back, even if it goes green to the end.
Yeah, and Reynolds just ducked out. He did not come in.
Are you allowed to do that?
In the real world, I don't think so. In iRacing, I mean, it's... I would imagine I don't see anything really wrong with it. He's past the yellow line, but it's not past the yellow cones.
Toika did the same thing. He rejoined the circuit once he realized he was lonely. I've got to admit, Nick, I don't know what the tiebreaker is.
Well, we'll find out.
Because Warlim finished 3rd. So let's assume Travis Warlim wins, as they're getting a wave around right there was Kin. He'll go back out onto the lead lap. So let's do some basic math here. Warling got 3rd in the Renault. If he wins this race, it's a grand total of 4. Well, Toika won the Formula Renault race, so he would need to get 3rd place to get a grand total of 4 points here at Homestead.
Yeah, and I would imagine the tiebreaker would be the best finishes, but I mean that would be a 1st and a 3rd for both of them, so it raises a good point.
Now the only other driver who could compete with that kind of consistency would be Pete Herod, who got 2nd place in the Renault race, but he is all the way back down in 13th place right now, so unfortunately he's not going to be one that these drivers are going to have to worry about. No green white checkers, although, well, let's see, we're at 6 laps to go right now. I think yeah, the lights are going to go off as time by, would be my guess. So that would be 5 laps to go. We'd get the green with 4 to go. And I think at that point, a caution would end the race. So hopefully we'll go green to the end. Warlim would love to see a caution right away.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Because it's not going to take long, I don't think, for Reynolds to get around him.
But then again, I don't think he's as concerned with Reynolds as he is concerned about Toika. If he can keep a couple cars between himself and Toika, I mean, Reynolds placed all the way down in 8th in the Renault race. He's not going to be racing for the overall win unless something crazy happens.
Yeah, so Warling's going to need to keep Toika. He's going to have to keep checking his black box and the relative and keep Toyka a couple positions behind him. Yeah, he's going to hope Cameron Dance and Thomas Peterson are real fast here off the start as well.
And remember, he doesn't have his teammate to help him anymore. His teammate had been running up earlier on. That was Driscoll. He's still back out there. Driscoll, he got his free repair, but he's multiple positions behind. He's not going to be able to mix it up with these leaders in 4 laps.
Yeah, and I think the worst thing Warling could do for himself right now is to get mixed up, to get caught up in doing the math in his head right now and figuring out the average position. I think what he's got to do is go out there, do his best to clear Reynolds here and stay clear, and then hope for a caution and just win this race.
Well, Warling will have control of the field on the low side. He's on the loud pedal early. Once again, Reynolds, semi-decent restart. He's second on his own. He has those fresher tyres. Toyka looking down the inside, almost getting into Peterson. Toyka cannot afford the caution. He's got to make sure he keeps this clean.
A lot of blocking down the backstretch. They know what positions are up for grabs here. Reynolds, we've seen him make the power move so many times, but Warling is well aware of that. He goes down to the bottom to block that move from happening again. And Reynolds
here's the run Toyka needs. Toyka's got a run on Dance for third.
And
oh, big wreck at the back, and the caution is out. Dance was ahead of Toyka. Warling was ahead of Reynolds. And Warling should end up being the overall victor here if positions stand as they are.
Yeah, Reynolds was driving so hard to try to make one of those power moves we saw as we see the accident on screen there with Eddie Hawks. Yeah, we've seen that so many times, that 3-wide situation go badly. But Reynolds actually just barely tapped the wall, and that slowed down all of his forward progress on the front stretch, and it gave the lead, gave a big gap to Warling there, and that's when the caution flew.
Race will finish under yellow. A couple laps time, we'll get another angle of this multi-car incident coming out of turn 4. Boy, we haven't really had any small wrecks today, have we? And Homestead, Miami, definitely a lot of speed you can carry around here with the banking. Okay, Blake Reynolds is just falling around. You know, he knows the race is over and all that, but I think Travis Warling has got to be... Where is Travis Warling? He blinked out. I hope his connection holds to the line. Travis has got to be thinking, hey, Blake, don't do anything stupid here. I need you to finish second. Because if something happens to Reynolds, Toyka gets third.
That would be a unique situation, but yeah, let's hope they can make it one lap around here.
It looks like Travis Warling then will be able to pick off the overall victory. The National MS Society, his charity of choice, so those guys will get to sponsor a majors race in 2019, as will Timo Toyka's sponsor, Autism Speaks. And we're going to have to do a bit more maths to work out who's third overall here.
It might be Reynolds or Callisto.
Yeah, Callisto. Reynolds gonna get an 8th and a 2nd.
And Callisto, I believe, got 2 6th places, so I think it would go to Reynolds.
So be Reynolds, yep. You are correct. So, Reynolds, keep your car in one piece. He's blown him over. Hope he's got enough power to roll across the finish line here. He just blew the motor in turn 4. Come on, Reynolds. Your charity needs you to finish second.
He might get a little help here from Cameron Dance. What a storybook finish here. Oh, my goodness.
So Warling wins overall. Congratulations, Travis Warling and the National MS Society. Congratulations, Timo Toyka, who finished 4th. He'll and the Autism Speaks, and Blake Reynolds, who will get 3rd overall. Blake Reynolds racing for the Houston SPCA. And the Demolition Derby breaking out all around them, and Blake Reynolds getting the push back to the pits from Lionel Callisto. Alright, well, that was fun, wasn't it? We're going to take a quick break here on GSRC. We'll be back with full race rundown. We'll make sure that all the stats we've given you are official and talk to a few of our drivers here today. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to Homestead. Before we show you the race results, once again we'll go over the official overall results first. It'll be Warlin taking the overall victory, Toyka taking second overall, and Reynolds taking third overall. Now let's run down our race results here from Homestead. Warling getting that overall win with a third over in Formula Renault and a first here at Homestead. Blake Reynolds, no motor, but got across the line, Flintstoning it to second place. Cameron danced his way up into third position ahead of Toyka in fourth. Peterson comes home in fifth place ahead of Callisto, who had two decent performances. I believe he gets fourth overall there with two sixth-place finishes. Kanata finishes in seventh ahead of Dean Mole. Paul Slavonic meows his way to ninth place across the line ahead of Bob Beltran.
And behind them, out of the top 10, it's going to be Marcus Niskanen in the 002 car there in 11th. 12th place going to go to Nick Kuhn. Pete Herod, we saw him run well in the first race. He's going to wind up 13th in this one. Riley Thompson, 14th. 5th place going to go to Eric Smith. Wayne Hutchison in the 17 car in 16th. And then Daniel Stevens in 17th. We were wondering about Steve Driscoll, if he could fight his way up through the field like he did in the first race. He went from 18th to 4th. In this one, he went from 18th, to 18th. Andy Banfield's going to be behind him, and Brian McGreevy in the 68 car will round out your top 20.
Now we go to page 3. 21st position is John King ahead of Ray Partridge in the pear tree, and being bitten by the wolf behind him, and also Hawks attack Partridges. So Hawks finishes in 24th. Now we get to the guys who don't have last names named after animals. Shane Bowen back in 25th, ahead of Kurt Crum. Lonnie Fitch. Is a Fitch a bird? I'm not sure. Fox is a dog. I know that. There we go. Drake Fox down there in 28th. By the way, Crum was the last driver on the lead lap. Jared Morgan in 29th place, ahead of Lerbier in 30th. And then on the last page, we get Wellman down in 31st. And Ratchkovic, who flipped over a few times today, finishing last once again. Let's talk to the driver who finished up front, Travis Warlin. Travis, congratulations on not only the victory here at Homestead, but the overall win for this charity event.
Yeah, thank you. It was a fun event.
Yeah, I've got to imagine all those yellows made it a little bit nerve-wracking on all those restarts. You had a lot of times that you had to hold off Blake Reynolds and other drivers going into the first corner.
Oh, for sure. At first I was cheering for the yellows just to save the tires. And then towards the end there, I was hoping for a long green flag run, and that really didn't. That last restart, I was certain that Blake was going to get around me somehow, and I don't know how I stayed in front, honestly.
Were you aware, though, that it was pretty much Timo Troika was the driver you needed to hold off there for the overall victory?
I had an idea. I didn't know where he was running or what the situation was overall. My teammates were kind of keeping me informed, but I really had no idea what was happening.
At the end of the day, you ended up beating him, I think, just by one position. If Troika had gotten by Dance, you guys would have tied. However, that didn't happen. Cameron Dance held on to a third-place finish there. Now, of course, this is a charity event. You were running with the National MS Society on the side of your car there. You want to give those guys a shout-out?
Yeah, they're a great organization. One of my new teammates, Steve Driscoll, his wife has MS, and this organization is doing such great work to help people like if you have anything to give, that they are such a great organization. They help so many people.
All right, well, we appreciate you supporting them, Nick. Travis, and we appreciate you coming here and talking to us following this race, and congratulations on your victory today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for broadcasting these races all year.
And that was our race winner here at Homestead, Travis. And Nick, you have caught up with the second place finisher, Blake Reynolds.
I have indeed caught up with Blake Reynolds. Blake, great run there, not just in this race, but also a solid top 10 at Interlagos as well about an hour ago. I've got to say, you provided us with one of the most exciting finishes under yellow that we've ever seen. Had a lot of accidents out there today. How did you stay out of them for the most part?
Well, I just, did what I could. A lot of guys that shouldn't have been in that race that I really just didn't want to be around, so I made some aggressive moves just to try and get away from them the best I could. The Formula Renault race, I started second. I wasn't that fast to begin with, but I had a move on, I think it was Pete, and it just didn't work out, and I self-spun. I'm just not a fan of Interlagos,
Yeah. Well, both races, not just this one, but that one, you provided very exciting last laps indeed for us to watch here and all of our viewers. The tire strategy, you were one of those that came down early in this race. How much did that pay off for you in this one?
Oh, yeah. Well, the setup was very tight, and the heat cycles are terrible on the current tire model for the Cup cars, well, and NASCAR cars in general. But, yeah, I just knew that those guys that were staying out, it was almost half the field, they would just wash up because the car would not turn, and there was not enough RPM in the car to get it to turn either. So I knew coming to pit would benefit me, and there at the end, I was able to just get back to the gas and just drive up to the high line, use the grip off of there, and get a run.
All right. Well, on the topic of benefiting, we know you're from Texas. You ran for the Houston SPCA today, and I'm sure you made them all proud. You want to say anything about them down there?
Yeah, the Houston SPCA, sorry. I go back with them. I have a very, very old dachshund. His name's Rocky, and I got him from the Houston SPCA in 2006, and probably the best animal or pet I've ever had. So I'm always down to help animal shelters in general, but very special connection there, and that's why I chose them.
All right. Well, great organization. They're a great story, and you ran well today. It was very entertaining to watch. A great race today. Thank you for your time there. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again eventually sometime in a GSRC broadcasted race.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Always down to provide the entertainment. Y'all have a good one.
Behind Reynolds across the line at Homestead was Cameron Dance. Unfortunately, Cameron didn't have the greatest of Formula Renault races, so you weren't up there overall, but congrats on a solid finish at Homestead.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, a little bit disappointing about what happened on lap 1 in the Formula Renault race, but pretty happy to have come away with the 12th in that race, considering where I started and what happened. But yeah, actually didn't expect to get on the podium at all for the Homestead race, so I thought it was going to be probably around mid-pack, if not a little bit more forward towards the top 10, but yeah, I'll happily take a third place considering.
Yeah, on the provisional grid of 38 cars, you were set to start 36. So, yeah, definitely had your work cut out for you in both events. I want to talk to you about your sponsor, though, because this it was one of the charities on our document as the longest names, the Luke Spalding iPads for Oncology Kids at Christmas charity you were supporting. Could you tell us a bit about those guys?
Yeah, so basically Luke was a racing driver in Australia. He raced in Formula 3 and a few other categories for a few years before he was diagnosed with cancer, unfortunately. And he was also quite a big sim racer in the AusNZ community, and everybody respected him. He was great to talk to and all that sort of stuff. And he eventually started a charity to donate iPads to those with cancer as well. So, yeah, it's a really good charity and awesome to see it continuing. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago from cancer, but his charity still continues to live on with the support of his mum and everybody else that supports him.
All right, well, Cameron, thanks for coming to talk to us following the event today, and we look forward to seeing you back next season and hopefully more success in your machine.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, we got one more interview. We can squeeze one more in here, Nick.
Yeah, I'm here with Josh Wolf. And Josh, you ran you had a challenging race both races today. Talk me about those races and just the nature of getting caught up in the carnage.
Yeah, it's just something that kind of have to deal with both on both sides. Either you got oval guys that aren't really used to road, or road guys not really used to oval. The road race I was doing pretty decent, and just got caught up in somebody else's issue, and then this last one I might have caused the reason to get back and have to deal with people in the back. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Had bigger thing as the charities. I was running for Envision Wired, mainly out of El Salvador, which kind of focuses on trying to help kids in school not get called up in the different issues and crimes that happen down there.
All right. Well, everyone today put on a great show for their charities, and you as well with Envision Wire. That was a charity I was just about to ask you about. It's one I have not heard of before, but it's for a great cause, everyone, and yours as well. And great racing today from you, and a great show that everyone put on today. So we will hopefully be able to talk to you again sometime in a GSRC race.
Yeah, I hope to see you guys then.
All right, and that was Joshua Wolf. Well, as you just mentioned there, Nick, a few cautions there in the Homestead race and a bit of a chaotic start of the Formula Renault. But at the end of the day, when we see these events that are done for charities, they're always great for us to watch. We saw some great racing out there in both races, and Travis Wallen, I think, a well-deserved win at the end of all that. So, that is going to wrap it up here with just a reminder that if you like what you see out of the Majors series, you can buy some of our merchandise. Head on over to www.pacificmajors.com/store and check out what those guys have on offer. And we would like to thank Mike Willett as well as all of the organisers, the competitors in this series, and also the companies that provide us with the software and the hardware that help make these broadcasts possible. We'd definitely like to thank all of them, as well as, of course, Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde. They provide us with our great music that you hear every broadcast here on the GSRC. See the screen for how to get hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Nick, Amjad and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel, and you can also give us a like on Facebook and follow us on Instagram at GSRC_gram. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well, so that you don't miss another moment here on GSRC. And all of the upcoming races for our other series are listed on your screen, so check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.